Translator, Dark Angel. Editor, Kurisu. After returning to Huyang Academy, Ling Han and Liu Yutong split paths like two blades sheathed to their own scabbards. He had only just stepped into his courtyard when Liu Ruer's nagging voice flew at him like hidden needles. As a landlord, you are truly a failure. You did not even prepare food for us, she seethed. Ling Han could not help the strange look that surfaced on his face as he asked, "Don't tell me you too don't know how to cook." In an instant, Liu Ruer's almond-shaped eyes widened and she blurted, "How did you know?" "I can tell at a glance from the look of your incompetence," Ling Han sighed. This pair of assassin sisters were truly failures. They failed at assassination and did not even know how to cook. They really were the rookies of all rookies. "Heng, who are you calling incompetent?" Liu asked with a defiant expression. "When I have recovered all my abilities, I will definitely give you a good thrashing." Ling Han could not help but laugh and said, "Then why should I still continue to care for two enemies like you two? I've been short of money recently, and if I take advantage of the chance to provide information on two criminals, I should be able to get quite a considerable sum of money." Liu Ruer instantly paled and gasped in fear. "You're just scaring me." "Am I?" Ling Han crossed one leg over the other, an unfathomable expression on his face. Liu Ruer wavered. She had always been living under the protection of her elder sister, and never needed to worry about the bad intentions of others. Now that she was facing Ling Han, who was in his second lifetime on her own, she was naturally easily played by him. "Come, sing a little song for me. If you sing well enough, then I'll let you off," Ling Han said, smiling. Liu Ruer finally understood that Ling Han was only using words to startle her, and she could not help but pat her breasts as she said, "You're so mean." Yet she immediately lifted her chin and added, "All right, then I'll sing a song. But don't think that I'm afraid of you. It's just been too long since I last sang, and I feel an itch in my throat." She opened her mouth and began to sing. The tune that spilled forth was mellow, like a stream winding through spring valleys, and it could easily touch the hearts of listeners. Ling Han nodded inwardly. This little girl was a bit of a ditz, but she was indeed quite a talented singer. Looks like she went into the wrong business. "Noisy, noisy!" Hu Nu was awakened by the song and glared in displeasure at Liu Ruer, her ferocious nature fully out in the open. Liu Ruer was not very happy with the critique and said, "I have such a beautiful voice, and you actually say it's noisy. There is indeed no hint of elegance in you." "Hang!" Hu Nu glared at her in defiance. The two girls glared furiously at one another, neither willing to back down. From the looks of it, they were prepared to glare at each other until the end of time. Ling Han yawned, stood up, and walked to his bedroom, intending to go to bed. Shu, Hu Nu immediately sprang in a great leap and clung onto Ling Han. Then she turned and made a silly face at Liu Ruer. Such a failure. She couldn't even handle a little kid. Liu Ruer clutched her hair in frustration. As an assassin, she couldn't even win in a staring competition with a little girl. Was she really suited to become an assassin? When he awoke, a pale white tint had spread across the eastern sky. Ling Han sat up in a cross-legged position and began to cultivate. He was deliberately waking up earlier now to cultivate at a different time from Hu Nu. This way, he would not need to run all over the place to cultivate elsewhere. "Not bad. I'll be able to break through to the 8th layer of element gathering tier in 3 days. Ling Han smiled. What he wanted the most now was to break through to gushing spring tier and peer into the secrets of the Black Tower. By now, the sun had already risen, and Ling Han woke Hu Nu up. Though the little girl looked very reluctant, she still adhered to Ling Han's request and began to cultivate. Hu Nu had such a terrifying potential. Who knows, her future achievements may not be one bit beneath his. Ling Han prepared breakfast. He was extremely depressed at this. It was fine when he had Hu Nu staying with him, but now that there were two bigger girls living with him, it was still up to him to cook. This was truly unfair. Tong, tong, tong. A knock sounded on the main door. Who could it be? Ling Han walked over, opened the door, and discovered that his visitor was Jin Wuji. "Yi, why did this guy come over?" "Brother Jin, why are you here so early?" Ling Han asked, smiling. Jin Wuji smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Ling, I would like to ask for your help." "With what?" Ling Han asked, in no rush to agree to anything yet. Jin Wuji hesitated for a moment, then asked, "Is Brother Ling able to make a reservation at the Cherishing Flower Pavilion?" Yi? Ling Han could not help but look at Jin Wuji strangely. Had this guy struck some deal with Lady Yan? Ling Han had only received the Cherishing Flower command yesterday, and there was already someone here today to ask for his help to make a reservation at the Cherishing Flower Pavilion. Brother Ling, I don't know what else to do. You know a lot of people, and I'm desperate. That's why I am here to shamelessly ask for your help, Jin Wuji sighed. Ling Han smiled and asked, "What's going on? Why would you need a table at Cherishing Flower Pavilion? If I tell you, promise me you won't laugh at me." Jin Wuji actually blushed. Ling Han put on a serious face and said, "I promise I won't laugh." Jin Wuji gathered his thoughts for a moment, then began to speak. Apparently, he met a daughter of a minor clan from the imperial city a year ago. Her name was Zhang Fei Yan, and the two of them had fallen in love with each other. Their relationship had even reached the point that they were beginning to discuss marriage. However, though the Jin clan was a great clan in Dayuan City, it was only considered a minor clan in the imperial city. Moreover, those who lived in an area under the direct jurisdiction of the emperor all carried an inborn arrogance, as if their bones were cast a shade prouder, and they felt a sense of superiority towards others. The Zhang clan was thus not very satisfied with a future son-in-law like Jin Wuji, and kept trying to separate the couple. Thus, Jin Wuji kept trying to rack his brains, hoping to find some way to change the opinion the Zhang clan had of him. The requirements to enter the Cherishing Flower Pavilion were very high, and anyone who wanted to reserve a table at the Cherishing Flower Pavilion had to at least be from a middle-class clan, thus displaying his ability by treating the important members of the Zhang clan to a meal at the Cherishing Flower Pavilion was undoubtedly a very good idea. But the problem now was that even if he had broken through to Gushing Spring tier, the Cherishing Flower Pavilion would still ignore his request. What more now that he was still only in Element Gathering tier? Recently, the Zhang clan appeared to plan on marrying Zhang Fei Yan off to the 7th young master of a middle-class clan. Thus, Jin Wuji truly had no idea what else he could do, and so came to try his luck with Ling Han. After all, Ling Han had only arrived at the imperial city for a few days and had already gotten to know a disciple of Wu Songling, and could even possibly be an honored guest of Grandmaster Wu. Therefore, even if Ling Han had no way to make a reservation at the Cherishing Flower Pavilion by himself, he could still go through Wu Songlin to make the reservation. When he heard the full story, Ling Han could not help but laugh loudly as he said, "I had never imagined that Brother Jin would actually be a romantic. Brother Ling, you promised you wouldn't laugh." Meanwhile, Jin Wuji was continuously sighing, distress all over his face. Ling Han still continued to laugh. He patted Jin Wuji on his shoulder and said, "Brother Jin, I am not able to reserve a table at the Cherishing Flower Pavilion, but..." When Jin Wuji heard his words, he looked disappointed at first, but then he suddenly heard that meaningful pause, so his heart involuntarily started to beat wildly in excitement. "Does Brother Ling have some other way? I can't reserve a regular table, but would a side courtyard be all right?" Ling Han asked, smiling. "Pooh!" Jin Wuji instantly choked. If one wanted to reserve a table at Cherishing Flower Pavilion, then one definitely had to have the cultivation level of Spiritual Ocean tier and above, or be backed by a Spiritual Ocean tier elite. For example, the members of the main branch of middle-class clans were able to make a reservation. However, they still needed to make the reservation in advance, because the business of the Cherishing Flower Pavilion was really too good. If they did not make the reservation well in advance, they would not be able to get a table. And in the case of side courtyards, one would at least require the cultivation level of Spiritual Pedestal tier or the backing of a Spiritual Pedestal tier elite to be able to make a reservation for a side courtyard. "Brother Ling, you're not joking with me, are you?" This surprise was huge, leaving Jin Wuji stuttering in his words. Translator, Dark Angel, Editor, Kurisu. "Put your heart at ease." Ling Han laughed, then asked, "Brother Jin, when do you plan to treat Miss Zhang's family? When is the soonest you can secure a reservation, Brother Ling?" Jin Wuji asked in return. Naturally, he wished for it to be settled the earlier the better. Ling Han spread his hands and replied, "Any day suits me. If you're pressed for time, tonight will do as well." Tonight? Jin Wuji's heartbeat suddenly quickened. What sort of meaning lay in those two words? The 8 great clans, and the imperial family as well, certainly possessed the power to book a side courtyard at the Cherishing Flower Pavilion. Yet even they could not come and go on a whim. Even such towering figures still had to reserve far in advance. Only an exceedingly rare few held the special privilege of using a side courtyard of the Cherishing Flower Pavilion without any prior booking. The Cherishing Flower Pavilion had long kept several side courtyards aside precisely for such urgencies, courtyards that could be used without reservation at all. For example, the third imperial prince was one such person with this special privilege. But who was the third imperial prince? He was a martial genius in his own right, his cultivation already at the 7th layer of the Gushing Spring tier, and moreover, one of the heirs to the throne. In the years to come, he would assuredly rise into a formidable power. Then what of Ling Han? Could it be that he, too, possessed this kind of privilege? Jin Wuji was truly shaken. He knew Ling Han as a monstrous dark horse who had burst forth to seize first place in the Dayuan tournament and had even managed to win the wholehearted support of 3 black-grade low-level alchemists. But that had been in Dayuan City. This was the Imperial City. Ling Han had only arrived for a few days, yet he already stood so high upon the social ladder. To measure oneself against others truly could drive a man mad. Jin Wuji could not help but sigh inwardly. He had spent more than 3 years in the Imperial City. Yet aside from the great increase in his cultivation, there was not the slightest rise in his personal standing. If he compared himself to Ling Han, he truly would die of shame. He held no suspicion that Ling Han was merely bluffing. Ling Han might jest now and then, but in matters like this he would never boast beyond reality. "Then tonight," Jin Wuji said, barely able to conceal the excitement on his face. For a minor clan like the Zhang clan, they could not even step through the main doors of the Cherishing Flower Pavilion, let alone dine within one of its side courtyards. After this night, what need would he have to fear the Zhang clan continuing to look down on him and oppose his marriage with Zhang Feiyan? "Very well," Ling Han nodded. "Thank you, Brother Ling. Thank you, Brother Ling." Jin Wuji bowed again and again, excitement plain upon him. In secret, he resolved that no matter what favors Ling Han might ask of him in the future, he would exhaust all his strength to repay him. He turned and departed, naturally, to inform the Zhang clan of the dinner this very night. It was a matter he ought to announce with pride. Meanwhile, Ling Han remained within his own courtyard, sinking his mind into the comprehension of sword arts. He had reached a bottleneck, trapped for a long time at merely 6 flashes of sword chi. Yet no matter how he searched, he had still failed to break through and give birth to the 7th flash. In truth, even for an exceptionally capable swordsman, to condense a single flash of sword chi within 10 years was already an achievement worthy of praise. Moreover, the more flashes one formed, the more one's progress would slow. By the time a swordsman reached 100 years of age, if he had managed to form 10 flashes of sword chi, he would be lauded as a genius among martial men. But Ling Han was not satisfied. His starting point stood far ahead of others. Naturally, he could not measure himself by the ordinary pace of advancement. Before, he had spent much time discussing sword principles with Mo Gao. Mo Gao was a mad genius who had actually brushed against a sliver of the mysteries of sword heart, and he had given Ling Han great inspiration. There and then, Ling Han had formed his 6th flash of sword chi. However, this had also consumed all the understanding he had accumulated. Thus it was indeed difficult for him to step forward again within a short span. Ling Han sat cross-legged, his right index finger extended as though it were the sword in his hand. He continued to sweep his finger through countless sword movements, testing and examining within his mind the sword intent he had comprehended thus far. Before he realized it, noon had arrived. He halted and rose to prepare food for Hu Nu. The food for himself and the Liu sisters was cooked merely in passing. It would be accomplishment enough if they managed to finish even 100th of what he had made. He spent the afternoon once more immersed in sword study. For Ling Han, there was little the academy could teach him. Before coming, he had already decided that his primary purpose here was simply to make Ling Dongxing happy. As for the road he would walk in the future, it had long been laid out and planned by his own hand. In the evening, he brought Hu Niu along to the Cherishing Flower Pavilion. He merely flashed the Cherishing Flower command, and at once there were female attendants leading him into an elegant side courtyard, inquiring what dishes and wines were to be served for tonight's banquet. First came the appetizers. The moment Hu Niu saw them, her appetite was stirred, and she could not hold back from stealing a few bites, causing the 8 female attendants serving them to cover their mouths as they secretly smiled. Ling Han naturally did not reprimand her. After all, he was not short of money now. If she finished a plate, then he would simply have another brought. After about half an hour, a party of 8 entered, led by a female attendant. Aside from Jin Wuji, the other 7 were naturally members of the Zhang clan. They included Zhang Fei Yan and her parents, as well as her 2 aunts and their 2 sons. So this is a side courtyard of the Cherishing Flower Pavilion. It's truly far too beautiful. In the past, we only ever managed to enter the ordinary rooms of the Cherishing Flower Pavilion. Looks like Fei Yan really chose the right man this time. He can even manage to reserve a side courtyard of the Cherishing Flower Pavilion. Yes, I heard only members of the 8 great clans and the imperial family can reserve a side courtyard here. Then doesn't that mean we're at the same level as the 8 great clans and the imperial family now? The elder members of the Zhang clan were all brimming with excitement. As a minor clan, they had little to worry about in daily matters. The only thing they lacked was advancement in status and recognition of that status. Merely dining here tonight would be enough for them to boast about for the rest of their lives. Do you have any souvenirs here that I can fasten to my clothes? Eldest aunt immediately asked one of the female attendants. If there were, she would definitely attach it to her clothes every day and show it to everyone she met. The female attendant stared blankly. Those who came here to spend money were naturally of exceedingly high status, so she had never been asked such a question before. She could not help but be stunned for a moment before replying, "We don't!" "How can you not have any?" Youngest aunt leaned in as well. "Why don't you ask someone to prepare one for us?" That's right! Prepare one!" Eldest aunt urged hurriedly. Hearing the words of these 2 senior relatives, Jin Wuji and Zhang Feiyan both blushed all the way to the roots of their hair, ashamed beyond measure. Meanwhile, Zhang Feiyan's 2 cousins kept staring with lewd focus at the female attendants' faces and breasts. "Brother Jin!" Ling Han rose and waved at Jin Wuji. "Brother Ling!" Jin Wuji returned the gesture, gratitude filling his expression. "Ha! Many thanks, Brother Jin. Thanks to you, I too can enjoy a meal at this Cherishing Flower Pavilion for once," Ling Han said with a smile. Jin Wuji knew Ling Han was deliberately placing him in a lofty position. He could not help but feel deeply moved and only nodded again and again. Ling Han smiled. Though there had once been a small conflict between himself, Jin Wuji, and Jin Wuxiang, Jin Wuji had long since apologized, and the matter was forgotten. And afterward, Jin Wuji had purposely forfeited his match at the Dayuan tournament, and even brought his own people to help rescue Ling Dongxing. Whether Ling Han had needed it or not, these were all debts Ling Han owed. Debts naturally must be repaid, so Ling Han was more than willing to play a minor role to cast an even brighter light upon Jin Wuji. "You naturally must thank our Wuji." Eldest aunt wore an expression of great contempt, her eyes full of disdain. "I heard you're a friend of Wuji's from Dayuan City. You truly are a country bumpkin who doesn't know the rules of proper society. It was already generous enough to invite you to dinner, yet you even brought a little girl with you." Jin Wuji's expression changed at once, and he was about to speak. Yet when he saw Ling Han shake his head, he could only swallow the impulse down. Ling Han did not take eldest aunt's words to heart at all. They entered one ear and left the other. Why should he lower himself to contend with such a vulgar person? In any case, they would meet only this once. In the future, he would never see these people again. Fortunately, The members of the Zhang clan were all entranced by the sights before them, for it was their first time stepping into a side courtyard of the Cherishing Flower Pavilion. When the dishes arrived one after another, as smoothly as flowing water, they no longer had the leisure to display disdain toward Ling Han, and instead began to savor the food. Aya! One of the female attendants suddenly cried out in alarm, pointing at Zhang Feiyan's eldest cousin as she said, He touched my bottom.